What if you could walk into a room and, without saying a single word, have everyone feel the weight of your presence? What if your very existence was enough to make them tremble without you lifting a finger? In a world where words are often seen as the ultimate form of power, what if silence was the most lethal weapon of all? Imagine not needing to shout to be heard or fight to be feared. This isn't about what you say. It's about who you are. It's about the energy you bring, the way you command attention without uttering a single syllable. Have you ever noticed how some people, when they enter a room, shift the entire atmosphere? Suddenly the energy changes. People stop talking, the room falls silent, and you can feel it, their dominance. They're not saying anything, but their presence is so powerful, so commanding, that you can't help but be drawn to it. Here this morning, there's no easy way out but be drawn to it. That's the kind of power we're talking about here. The kind of power that doesn't require words, only presence. And the question is, how can you harness that same silent force in your own life? Presence isn't about being loud, flashy, or trying to stand out. It's about the energy you bring with you and about what you represent when you enter any space. It's a state of being, not a skill that can be perfected. Your presence doesn't need to announce itself because it does all the work for you. When you walk into a room, you don't need to say a word for people to notice you. There's an undeniable force that radiates from you, something intangible yet powerful. It's the kind of energy that makes people turn their heads, even if they try to act like they haven't noticed. You've harnessed something that speaks louder than any gesture, louder than any action. It's the unspoken power that changes the air in a room the moment you step in. This energy can be controlled and channeled. Like the calm before a storm, the atmosphere shifts when you enter. People don't know it yet, but they feel it whether they acknowledge it or not. They don't need to know what's coming. They just feel something is about to change. This shift in energy is yours to command. You control the atmosphere without even a whisper. It's like walking into a space and knowing that no matter what anyone says or does, you have the power to influence everything around you. It's the quiet before the wave, where you're the force that makes the tides change. People might be distracted or unaware, but the moment you enter, things begin to move. And they don't even understand why. But that all changes one day. If you just pull one more thing of their lives, one by one. Silent authority is perhaps the most powerful form of power. It's the type of influence that doesn't require demands or loud declarations. You don't need to fight for respect. Your presence commands it naturally. People around you can feel your confidence, even if you say nothing at all. There's a certain peace in knowing you don't need to speak to prove your worth. Your silence is your weapon. And it's louder than any words could ever be. Your liberation in this silence. There's a sense of control, a sense of mastery over the room, over the moment. It's the kind of authority that doesn't need validation because it's already understood. People can sense it. They may never admit it, but they feel it. You've become the force that others have no choice but to recognize. Silence holds an immense power that is often underestimated. It doesn't need to beg for attention or shout to be heard. In fact, silence can be more intense than the loudest of words. When there is an absence of noise, it creates an uncomfortable space for people to fill with their own insecurities and self-consciousness. The stillness becomes a force that demands respect without uttering a single word. In this quiet, your presence becomes undeniable. You don't need to fill the air with sound. Just your mere existence in that silence becomes the statement. Psychologically, silence can disarm people, stirring a deep sense of unease. It leaves them guessing, filling the void with their own uncertainty. What are you thinking? What's going to happen next? What do you want? The unknown is far more terrifying than anything that can be said aloud. In the silence, people's minds race, trying to piece together what's happening and why you haven't spoken. It gets under their skin, a silent tension that grows stronger with each passing moment. The fear of the unknown makes the silence powerful. It forces them to confront their own insecurities, their own vulnerability. When you become comfortable with silence, you hold mastery over any situation. You don't need to speak to dominate the room or guide the conversation. Your silence itself is a command. People will wait for you to speak, hoping for answers, hoping to understand what's going on in your mind. But you don't give them the satisfaction. The longer you remain silent, the more power you hold. It's a subtle yet undeniable control, one that shapes the environment without the need for words. Silence is your weapon, and in mastering it, you become untouchable. Fear often thrives in the absence of clarity. When there is uncertainty, it leaves room for the imagination to run wild. Silence feeds that fear. When someone remains quiet, people start to fear what they don't understand. They are left to fill the void with their own doubts, worries, and assumptions. Imagine walking into a room full of strangers. You don't say a word, but everything about you, the way you stand, the way your eyes scan the room, the aura you project, sends a message. Without speaking, you can sense the hesitation in their actions, the unease they feel. It's the fear of the unknown taking hold. They don't know your intentions, your thoughts, or what you will do next. And that uncertainty is more terrifying than any words could ever be. The power of silence lies in the subtle signals you send without uttering a word. A glance, a slight raise of an eyebrow, or an unshaken stillness. These small, almost imperceptible gestures speak volume. They are your tools for creating an atmosphere of tension and discomfort. It's not about being aggressive or loud, but about maintaining control with your body language. These signals become a language in themselves, conveying messages that go beyond spoken words. The way you stand, how you move, even the way you hold eye contact can make someone feel as though they are being weighed and measured. It's subtle, yet it holds immense power. It's in these quiet moments that fear begins to creep in, as others sense that they cannot predict what you will do next or how you will react. In this fear, all of us resist the temptation to stop thinking. The most powerful people don't have to exert dominance or make a show of force. The fear they inspire is not intentional. It's simply a natural consequence of their presence. They exude a quiet power that doesn't need to be proven. It is simply felt. They don't demand attention, but they command it effortlessly. You don't need to assert control over others. Your presence alone is enough to make people feel small in comparison. They are drawn to you, unsure of what to expect, and that sense of uncertainty makes your presence terrifying. Your energy speaks louder than any words ever could. The world around you acknowledges your existence before you even have to say anything. It's this unspoken authority that leaves a lasting impression. Fear is often misunderstood as something driven solely by aggression or violence, but its roots run deeper than that. At its core, fear stems from the unknown, the unpredictable, and the mysterious. When you step into a room, not with loud gestures or overt displays, but with a presence that fills the space without a single word, you become both present and absent simultaneously. You're there, yet you're not fully accessible. This mystery, this air of untouchability, is what makes people uneasy. They don't know what you're thinking, what you might do next, or how you might react. It's this fear of what they cannot control that makes you powerful. Fear isn't about being a threat. It's about leaving others uncertain and on edge, wondering what's next, what lies beneath the surface. One of the most potent ways to enhance fear is through unpredictability. When you remain unpredictable, never revealing everything you think, feel, or plan, people are left guessing. They can't predict your next move, and that unpredictability creates tension. You don't need to show your hand. You simply need to keep others wondering what you might do next. This creates a constant state of unease. Silence becomes a tool, because every time you hold back or remain still, others begin to imagine what you're hiding. What are you planning? What are you capable of? This uncertainty can be more terrifying than any threat, because people fear what they cannot anticipate. The longer you stay quiet, the more their imaginations take over, and the more fear takes root. People not only fear what they don't know, but they also fear losing control. When your presence overwhelms theirs, it shakes their sense of stability. It's not just about what you might do. It's about what they feel in response to you. They start fearing their own reactions, wondering why they feel so small in your presence. The power isn't just in the words you say or the actions you take, but in how your presence forces them to confront their own vulnerabilities. The fact that you can walk into a space, command attention, and make others feel insignificant without uttering a word is a terrifying thing to live with. The fear isn't always from what you might do next. It's from the discomfort of having to live with the possibility that you are something they can't control or understand. When you begin to realize that your presence evokes fear, that's when you know you've truly mastered the art of influence. The fear people feel when they're around you isn't something to dread. It's something you can harness to your advantage. This fear can become your fuel, pushing you to rise above any situation with a newfound confidence. You no longer react to the world around you. Instead, you shape it. Every bit of discomfort you create becomes an opportunity to solidify your position. The more they fear you, the more power you gain, and the more control you hold over the environment. The fear that once seemed like a threat is now your ally, driving you to command the space you walk into, allowing you to dictate the flow of the room. Remaining unbothered in the face of fear is key to maintaining your strength. People may tremble at the very thought of your presence, but you can't let their fear affect you. You must stay calm, grounded, and in complete control. When others fear you, it's important not to overreact or seek validation. You don't need to act, speak, or respond. Simply existing and remaining unshaken is what amplifies your influence. Look around. You've already won. Your silence, your stillness, these are your tools. While others feel the tension in the air, you remain poised, as if unaffected by the very emotions you've stirred in them. In that calmness, your power resonates louder than any noise could. Scorch you and your power. The respect that comes from fear is unlike any other. It's not loud or boastful, but it's real and lasting. Fear-based respect isn't built on aggression. It's built on the unspoken acknowledgement of your presence and power. People may never openly express it, but they understand the gravity of what you represent. This respect is quiet, subtle, and runs deeper than surface-level recognition. Spend the record that clear. It is never primal, but real, fast to roam, and intuitive. It's not the kind of respect that fades with time or is easily shaken. It's rooted in the understanding that you cannot be undermined. This kind of respect doesn't require validation from others. It's an internal understanding of your own strength. And once you've earned it, it becomes a shield, protecting you from being overlooked or challenged. Fear may be the catalyst, but respect becomes the enduring outcome. In the end, true power isn't about being the loudest or making the biggest splash. It's about knowing who you are and owning that presence. Walking through life in such a way that your mere existence becomes your weapon, and your aura, the invisible force you project, becomes your voice. The true power lies in your ability to walk into any space and have everyone feel the weight of your presence without you uttering a word. You don't need to force anything. It's already there, silently shifting the energy, commanding the room. So the next time you step into a room, don't speak. Don't try to stand out. Let your presence speak for you. Let the world feel your power without the need for words or gestures. As you do, remember this: they will feel your energy, they will acknowledge your power, and they will fear your presence. Not because you've said anything, but because you've mastered the art of silent authority. Own that. Let them wonder, but never give them the satisfaction of an explanation. This is your power.